This is the third video in this series of removing the transmission. First was exhaust and drive shaft. Second, front axles. This video, I'm going to get that transmission all unbolted and starting to come apart from the motor, but it'll be the fourth video when I get it all the way out.
Easy as that. Just out there, like that. Look at that. I'm so excited. All right. So, I'm not sure what our next step is actually. The next step is to get the transmission out. All right, I'm going to take off, let's focus here. Take off the back of this here, because I think a lot of the bolts or whatever are behind here. That's awesome. When I get in here, this is like a bolt that sort of holds the transmission in. This is how loose it is. It's like not even in there. Way to go, whoever did that last time. It's also the bolt that holds the starter on. So this, I think, is the back of the motor. And it looks like there's just a few. There's a bolt here. I'm going to show you this longer one. It's like 5-inch bolt came out from where the starter is. And then bolt closer to the passenger side is a much shorter, I don't know, 3.5-inch bolt. I don't know what this bracket is exactly, but I'm going to take this off. It's got a hose connected to it, which terminates just in an end right there. It's like a drain or something. I'm going to take these big plugs out here and here. There's a ground strap on here that goes from the transmission, and it just goes up to the firewall. So I'll take that out. See if there's more bolts here. Yeah, there's another bolt in here, and we'll take that one out as well. The back of the transmission is supported well enough, so I should be able to take those out. I imagine there's another one on the other side of the starter, so let me get those out. All right, I just pulled this bracket away. I can leave this ground connected, and whatever this hose is, it's going into the transmission, so I'm going to pull that out. Now this whole thing is away. Now I'm going to get this plug, and I think if I just take a screwdriver and push down on it, yeah, that'll come out. All right, move that out of the way. We've got this one, which for whatever reason has a different design. Well, that came out very easily as well. All right, I got that sound felt material stuff off. I'm going to pull the power lead off of the starter. I've got my battery disconnected, so I'm not going to melt anything down and start everything on fire. I think I have to get to the other bolts from underneath at this point. I can't feel anymore. I want to show you one thing that on this one is different than the ones I've seen online, and that is that this transmission is held up by this, it's hard to see here, but there is a like a motor. It goes to the motor mount here, and it goes right into the transmission, so I'm going to have to support the back of the engine when I pull this transmission out. All right, this is that bolt on the upper, I don't know what to call this thing. This bottom one, because it's pinched in here by these hydraulic lines, I could only get an open-end wrench on it. It's nice to have one of these things to sort of zip it out once I got it loose. That other one I think I'm going to have to get from underneath. It'll just be easier from down there. Okay, I'm going to do the other side, and actually there's also a bolt. Let's see if the camera can find it here. Right in behind here. You can feel it. It's up here. So we're going to pull that one out. All right, you can see how these hydraulic lines connect right here with these big, I think they're 18 millimeter bolts. I'm probably going to do those from underneath because I think when I crack those open, all the hydraulic fluid's going to pour down, and I'd like to catch that into something. Again, I don't know how to replace that and bleed it, whatever. Well, I guess we'll worry about that later. Right next to those hydraulic lines is this, see that hole right there? That's, and it's barbed. That's where this thing, this rubber hose was connected. This part was connected to it. The other end, again, this bracket, remember, was up here, and it's just a breather hose, I guess. But anyways, that's where that connects onto the transmission. Okay, I was able to get the starter out. There is see this spade connector? There's another wire right here, and it's got, it looks like a white, let's see, white and black on it. That plugs into this spade here. So you got to get that unhooked. There's no clip or anything, it just pulls off. And I was able to pull it up through the top. Okay, so in behind the starter, there is another bolt actually. Let's see. There's the starter. Okay, see that bolt right there? It's got a 6 on it. So I think that's a transmission bolt. I'm going to pull that off. Well, that was a little difficult to get to. This is how big that one is. And it worked with this deep well and a big wrench. It just barely sort of fit in there. I got it from the top, and I think that's the best way to do it. There's a super tiny set screw at the end of this that I don't know if I have the right tool, but I can't get it out. So I'm just going to pull this pin out here instead, which is going to let me just take this arm off this mechanism, I think. I believe we just have these two. The only thing holding this in now are this nut on the stud here, and then there's one just on the other side that looks the same over here, right here. So you can take those off. Then the transmission should probably be not connected to the, oh, I got to take this bolt out, which I loosened. The other one is removed, so you take that one off, and then the back of the transmission, we'll loosen that up and we'll lower this down, I think. Well, I don't know how necessary this is, but since I'm going to be muscling this thing out all by myself, I didn't want to drop it on the ground. So I have wrapped these ratchet straps around, and they go to the end, and another one goes around the front of it. And my thought is, when I release those two bolts, get under here, pull it back, I think I should be able to get it to sit once it's free out of the torque converter, I guess. Hopefully I'll be able to get it to sort of sit and hang there, and then we'll lower it down after that. Well, I'll spare you the tedium of this, but I pried and pulled and tugged and jacked and lowered, and I'm getting the transmission to move about maybe a centimeter or 3/4 of a centimeter away from the motor, but I can't get it to move any further. And I think the problem is in these motor mounts, which attach to the transmission. I took these bolts out of there, so I know there's no bolts attaching to it, but for some reason it's either like pinched in there or it's otherwise sort of stuck on there. I'm going to have to try to loosen that motor mount up. This is that mount from the top, and I don't really understand how it works. There's a couple of smaller bolts on top of it, and then there's this larger 17 millimeter bolt.
that's the one I'm going to try to get to, but you can see it's really in close to the subframe rail, so I can't even get, I don't think I can get any sort of impact tool on there, so I'm going to have to try to attack it with an open-ended wrench and see if there's any way I can get that to break loose and see if that's helpful. So I'm going to work on that. Well, that seemed to work a little bit. I was able to get a very small socket wrench on there, and with a big pipe get enough leverage to start loosening that bolt, and then I loosened it a bunch, and then I couldn't get my socket off, so I had to tighten it down again and use a open-ended wrench, but I got it just loose, not off, and now you can see that there's some space in between here, and this thing is loose, so I'm going to try jacking up and down and see if I can, if it'll come now. We're up top here on the driver's side, and I'm not getting any separation between this this motor mount, transmission mount, and the